Hey guys, Jason here at WāVTech, and in today's workshop, we're going to talk about all of our mono amplifiers and our multi-channel amps, like our 5-channel that have a dedicated subwoofer channel, or even our new 8-channel that has an assignable bassFREQ processor, have what we call a bassFREQ processor. So that bassFREQ processor incorporates three main things. One is a fully adjustable parametric EQ. Unlike a traditional bass boost, it actually has all three adjustments for a parametric for an EQ band. So that's width, frequency, and boost. The next thing that all of our bassFREQ processors have is a 24 dB per octave subsonic and a 24 dB per octave low pass filter. That gives you the ability to set your crossovers much more accurately because it's much steeper. So that allows you to set, say, for example, your low pass a little higher without still hearing voices coming through, or to be able to localize the bass because of that bleed through. So you preserve the upper bass punch in the frequency response, unlike you would get with a shallower slope, such as a lot of amplifiers only have 12 dB. And then the bass processor in specifically the 1400.8 also has what we call our patent pending technology, autoBASS. And what autoBASS does is it automatically kicks in the parametric EQ at a specific volume from your source. So typically a factory radio, which may have a bass roll-off at a certain volume. So the factory is trying to protect the factory speakers from being overdriven, so it kicks in a high-pass filter that cuts out all your bass. So at a certain volume, you lose all your bass. But that's really no good for an aftermarket system. You want the full volume range of all your speakers, including your subwoofer channel. So with autoBASS, instead of what's been done before, which is just a bass shelf that kicks in and there's no ability to adjust the frequency or anything, autoBASS actually allows you to tune a parametric EQ to kick in at a certain volume. So that's much more flexibility to correct for bass roll-off. And on top of that, also tune your bass for your specific vehicle, depending on which kind of crossover or subwoofer or vehicle you have. It gives you the full flexibility to tune for acoustic reasons as well as bass roll-off. What is a parametric EQ? Well, it's actually three things combined into one that is all of the parameters of a equalizer band. So we have the boost, the width, and the frequency. Most amplifiers only have a single frequency and just a boost without the ability to adjust the width, and that's why you call that a bass boost. So this is a fully adjustable parametric EQ. All of our mono amplifiers have this, and I'm showing here the Link 1400.8 Plus that actually has that plus function called autoBASS. But combined together, the parametric EQ, the subsonic, and the low pass filter is our bassFREQ processor. So to start off with, so say for example you have a frequency response issue in your vehicle. By default on the 1400.8, the parametric EQ is always on. And so you can see here on the screen, this is the mid, say for example, the mid bass driver, or a vehicle that has front and rear that has some kind of crossover on it. So you can actually use the frequency adjustment first. So since this is kind of in a low frequency, looks like it's maybe crossed over, around 70 hertz or so. You want to adjust your frequency kind of to the middle of where that is. So let's say it's maybe around 40. The width, if you want to get more adjacent frequencies, so you want to boost up a broader range of frequencies, you would set this maybe to about the middle. We can start there. And then you can start increasing the boost until you see that flattening out. So now we've recovered that lost bass there, and we can actually go further and even boost it up if that's what your sound system needs, particularly your subwoofer or the kind of enclosure or the vehicle that you're in. So that's the parametric EQ and how to adjust it. It's very simple. There's only 3 dials. You just have to think about the frequency, the center frequency, the width of the frequencies affected, and the boost is how high it is at the center peak. So number 2, tuning autoBASS. So let's start from the beginning with the parametric EQ set to its defaults, and actually by default with autoBASS on the Link 1400.4 Plus, it's going to be on. So the dial has a little switch in there. So we just click it over to minimum, and with all this set at 0, we adjust our radio to where we hear the bass drop out. So say that's like volume, I don't know, volume 30 on this. This is the sensitivity of the auto bass detection. So this is going to detect the threshold at which your bass drops off. So all you have to do is turn this dial up slowly. And you can see the LED came on. That indicates that now the parametric EQ is active. So that means that auto bass is active. Now we just have to tune the parametric EQ, just like we did in step 1. So to recover that low bass roll off at the specific volume, we first take a good guess of the frequency again, say around 40 hertz. We probably want it to be a little on the wider side. We could even go a little lower than 40. And then we want to adjust the boost up. And you don't need an RTA to do this. You can just do by ear, and you can hear when the bass starts sounding full again. And that's where you're going to leave that. So now your parametric EQ is set, your sensitivity range is set. So as soon as I turn down the volume here, down low enough, it has a hold circuit, so it won't volume pump on you. And so there it kicked off. But as soon as I increase the volume back up to where that sensitivity level is, it kicks in. Now, just remember that this has about an 8-second hold circuit. If it's getting a lot of signal, it'll be shorter if it's closer to the threshold. So if you over adjust the sensitivity, just give it a few seconds to turn off, and then slowly increase it again. So there it kicked in again, and now we have our bass fully recovered. The last thing you want to do, and I'm just showing it crossed over it with the low pass all the way up, just so you get a better visual. But of course, you want to set your low pass crossover down to where it's going to meet your mids. So in this case, maybe around 100 hertz. And depending on 80 to 100 hertz, and depending on what kind of subwoofer system you have, if it's sealed, the subsonic is more for improving your power handling. If it's ported, you want to set it just below the tuning frequency to prevent unloading. So in this case, let's say our box is tuned to about 30 hertz. So I want to set the subsonic to maybe about 20. And that's it. Those are the main steps to setting both the parametric EQ and auto bass to restore bass from factory bass roll off, as well as tuning your crossovers for the ultimate sound performance with any subwoofer system in any vehicle. So there you have it. That's it, really. It's very easy to set the parametric EQ and the crossovers even by ear. Like I said, you don't need an RTA to do that. This was just for visual purposes. But especially with the bass roll off, you can immediately tell in your vehicle if it has bass roll off where the bass drops out, and you simply start adjusting the parametric EQ, and after you set the threshold till it goes away, and then you're done. So if you need more information, you'd like to see what new innovations we have on our amplifier line, including the new 1400.8, please visit our website at WAVTECH-USA.com.